Okay, today we're tackling a challenge that, let's be honest, a lot of us have faced, learning English at university. But we're not just talking about grammar rules or memorizing vocabulary. We're digging into what really lights that fire to learn and what keeps it from going out. We're going to explore some brand new keys to unlocking real, lasting motivation.
So let's start with a feeling I bet is pretty familiar. Picture this. You're sitting in class, you're looking at the clock, and you just feel totally disconnected. You know that moment where your will to learn just kind of vanishes? Yeah, that feeling. That's the problem we're going to unpack today.
And here's the thing, right? The biggest roadblock to mastering a language often isn't how complicated the grammar is. It's the motivation. It's that drive to keep showing up, to keep trying. Because without that, even the best designed course in the world is going to fall flat.
So, if motivation is the big problem, what's the fix? Well, it's probably not what you think. It isn't some fancy new app or high-tech gadget. The solution actually starts with the most powerful element in any classroom, the teacher. Their impact, for better or for worse, is just massive.
And you know, a teacher's influence can be unbelievably subtle. Just take a look at this. This chart shows how students react to something as simple as a teacher's disapproving look. For a huge chunk of students, I mean, more than half if you look at those top two bars, that one little expression is enough to make them not want to speak up. It really shows you how fragile a student's confidence can be.
But here's the flip side. Just as easily as the teacher can demotivate, they have this incredible power to inspire. This number, 80, that's how many students in one study said they felt motivated just because their teacher had a good sense of humor. 80. That's the human factor right there, turning a classroom from a place of stress into a place where you actually want to be.
Okay, so the teacher's attitude is a game changer, for sure. But it's not the only piece of the puzzle. We also have to rethink the whole classroom environment itself. And that brings us to this really powerful idea called the flipped learning model. So what on earth is flipped learning? Honestly, it's a pretty simple but brilliant idea. It basically asks, what if we took the most boring part of class, the lecture, and moved it outside the classroom? By doing that, you free up all that precious in-class time for the stuff that really matters, like actually practicing and interacting.
Let me break it down. You know the traditional way, right? You sit through a lecture in class, trying to absorb everything, and then you go home and struggle with the homework all by yourself? The flipped model just reverses that. You watch the lecture or read the material at home on your own time. Then you come to class to do the hard work, the exercises, the group projects, with the teacher right there to guide you.
And the effects of this switch are huge. Students learn to manage their own time. Class isn't a passive experience anymore. It's like a workshop where you're constantly doing things. And maybe most important of all, your time with the teacher is spent actually using the language, not just hearing about it. It makes every single minute you're in that room count.
All right, our next key to unlocking motivation is all about making learning fun. And this is where technology can be an amazing partner through a concept called gamification.
Now, when I say gamification, I don't just mean playing video games in class. It's much smarter than that. It's about borrowing the things that make games so addictive. You know, points, competition, challenges, leaderboards, and applying those ideas to learning. It taps into our natural competitive spirit and makes hard work feel more like play.
And we're seeing this everywhere now with technology. Think about digital escape rooms where you have to solve English puzzles to get out, or apps like Kahoot, which turn a boring quiz into a super fun, fast-paced game. Even a simple tool like Padlet can be used to create collaborative, game-like activities. It's all about active learning.
So we've talked about the teacher's role, we've talked about flipping the classroom, and we've talked about using tech and games. But the key thing to remember is that these aren't just separate ideas. The real future of learning is about weaving them all together into one dynamic, student-centered experience.
So here's the big takeaway. If you want a truly motivated English class, you need to build it on 3 pillars. First, you need a teacher who inspires and encourages. That creates the foundation for the second pillar, a classroom that's an interactive space for practice, not lectures. And finally, you bring in technology as an ally to make the whole thing more engaging and, well, more fun.
And all of this change, all this evolution, leads us to one last really important question. We spent all this time talking about how teaching is changing, but what about the student? See, as the classroom shifts from a place where you just listen to a place where you actively do, the student's role has to change too. You're no longer just a passive listener. You're an active participant, the real owner of your own education. So the question I want to leave you with is, what does that mean for you?